Hey guys, this is the man on the street. I'm living right here at Church and Wellesley. You see right here behind me? It's one of the thoroughways where they intersect with other cultures, especially ones that we hear about in the news that breed queer. And in this way, we can also ask about the issues that pertain to the law and public safety. In our records, we have a Charter of Rights, and we have different criminal codes of Canada, in particular when we're talking about public safety. This isn't someone getting on a bender and drinking all night and waking up and saying, I got to do that again next weekend, right? This is more of psychobaiters programmed by their own institutions. Right now, if they have the issues where they're saying NCR, where you're not criminally responsible, right? It's also asking how people might think that objectively. It pierces the ears too. That's really frightening to know that when we have people who are incapacitated and they think they're in a Tom Cruise or Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, we could understand that. I work with people like that, to know them on one-on-one basis with mental health facility. Cognitively, we would ask other questions, but these are serious in nature when someone would think like that in their defense and what would lead up to it. You hear a lot of shit like that when these guys are on that psychotropic drugs and how they're chemical imbalance. It is concerning. But what is not concerning is what also happened in my building area. What is also concerning is also the assaults. Healing takes time, and that's what's the criteria here. So nowadays, you're allowed to drink. Sure, if you like it, you can. Now, so we're asking about where you can get the liquor store. Now, I didn't take a clock on to ask any of these liquor stores that are open in variety store. Like in Montreal, when I went back there a couple of decades ago, I would go in and, hey, you sell Molson? She said blue. I said, okay, right? So we understand that, right? But we also understand when they talk about Canadian beer and the importation tax, and then the ministry tax, and the duty tax, and then we're asking how does the American, when we talk about beer, what that's equivalent. You don't take a man's beer, and you certainly don't take his ideas away from him. But in nature, I wanted to work with people with those kind of issues, and most part, you think that's psycho, that's criminal, that guy should be in jail, right? I know. But that doesn't mean they can walk over people like myself. Like, I'm still healing, but when we ask these questions about mental health criteria, NCR, and faint hope clause, there's all these charter rights that gives their freedom when we say 25 to life, right? Nowadays, when we're asking about conspiracy to commit homicide and how these psychobaiters use that, because what do they have to say more so than people who inflate other cultures, right? When we're talking about the people in Europe and those people, those guys are living in a mental health facility all around them. So when you come here and you understand your privilege, like it is for many decades, that is why, people say that should be off the books. YOA, Young Offenders Act. People ask these questions because we're the last province to understand that. But, with 6.5 million people and the resources being taken, there's a lot of criteria these politicians don't ask. When we ask this direct questioning, this should be answered too. Now, over-elevated and overestimated, some of the court cases that I hear and that most people couldn't hear on court TV and other factors, everyone likes to be their own commentator. Nowadays it doesn't take much to understand how someone can just use that memes and then use that in YouTube. That's why the viewership is dwindling. Nowadays, YouTube, hey, Google, right? It was conceived just like in birth. When people say, you were born in an elevator, and when we talk about Aerosmith, and we all laugh because we know teenage angst, we can also ask it over there in church at Progress Place. And that is why the hostility came in that issues pertaining to people's ideas, how the doctrine of adding the contingencies and thereafter, people walk over people. But, when I hear about issues where I live and these past or current members, it's such a shame to know how they just fractioned people's checks and how many checks they stole from, people who had legitimate claims of a disability pension, and other people like myself and others who are pensioners are dependents on. But, when we're asking also other questions of that nature, how can someone do that? I used to work at a gas station, and that's where I started, I never had to be on welfare. I didn't think it was like anything it was demeaning. It wasn't demeaning to know what it meant. If your ihtiyacın vardı, onu aldırdın böyle ne için? But these days, people who have that, who use it other means, and that's why they realize, how it is standard for people's living now, that it's a standard status quo, right? But that was 35 years ago, right? Now things have changed. So when we're talking about guaranteed income and, how Canadians are garnered to that idea, that is most prevalent. So going forward, these politicians, Trump's win and Kamala Harris in that 4 years, that's 8 years in total. That's someone's education. Did you know that? That's going to high school, graduating in university or college of your predestined. And that's what everyone also asks about the questioning in hand. So when we ask these politicians, Trudeau, Poilievre, and Jagmeet Singh, and the Green Party, it's a smorgasbord, but we know the benefactors of living in Canada and the idea of public safety. This is the man on the street.